Chapter 7 Company Accounts. Today we shall see the chapter number 7 Company Accounts, under which we will have to know some details of the company account and meaning, and definition, Number 2, characteristics. Under it, this is voluntary association, separate legal entity, and a common seal, fourth one, perpetual succession, limited liability, and the last one, transferability of shares. Transferability of shares. And third one, meaning and types of shares. Meaning and types of shares. And this is preference, equity, otherwise it is called ordinary. Then different types of share capitals. Divisions of share capital. A, I, S, C, P, R. A, I, S, C, P, R. This is the fourth one. Then issue of equity shares. Issue of equity shares. There are 4 types. 1, public. public issue, then second one is private, then fourth one right issue, holders, and the fourth one bonus share, bonus issue. Private placement, public issue, private placement, private placement, then rights issue, bonus issue. Right. With this, we can complete a part of the shares, we can complete a part of the theory, and if time permits, we will continue the rest. And what is the meaning and what is the necessity for a company type of or company form of organization? This is a company accounts. As we know, the needs and wants of the persons are day by day increasing. As such, the production are also very important. It should also be increased. So you should remember, day by day, human needs and wants are increasing. And to satisfy those needs and wants, production also should be increased. To increase the production, there should be so many industries for the production of goods, and for those industrial development or the production of goods, we need a backbone which is otherwise called the capital of the business. This is the backbone of the business, the capital. How this capital can be collected? There comes the different forms of organization. You have studied already in commerce. There are different types of organization. Number one, the very oldest form of organization, joint Hindu family business. What is the speciality there? A particular type of or a particular kind of people, a group of people who belongs to a particular community runs the business traditionally, because only the particular community knows how to run the business, what is the plus and minuses of the business, they know. So they started doing the business by investing their own money into the business, and they ran the business. It is called joint Hindu family business. It was only for a particular community. This is what history says. Then, what about the next one? Since it belongs to a particular community, no other community could take part in the business. What happened? Other persons, the people from other community and other walks of life also tried to run the business. In that case, any person can run any kind of business provided they have the knowledge and the experience in the business, especially if they have the capital which is required for running the business. In that case, the amount invested into the business is very less and they could run only very small scale businesses. சின்ன அளவிலான பிஸ்னஸை மட்டும்தான் அவங்களால நடத்த முடியுது. ஸோ what happens? What are the plus and minuses? They run the business. For the persons, yes, we can talk about the joint Hindu family business and sole proprietorship, otherwise called the single person who runs the business. So in these two types of organizations, only the individual earns what all he earns, he enjoys. What are the losses they suffer? So it is fully going to the individual persons or to the family. So what happens when the business is to be developed, when the business is to be expanded? They need more and more capital. For that, what they could do? They thought of it. And they decided to start some other form of organization, which is called partnership. More than one person joined together, at least two. They join. Different types of partnership is there, which I don't want to go inside now. More than one person, at least two, they join together, they start a business. Since the partners are more than one, the contribution of the capital will definitely be greater than what an individual can contribute. It is very important. ஒரு ஆள் போடுற முதல் விட 4-5 பேர் சேர்ந்து போடுறது, it will be a huge capital. So those people join together and they start a business which is otherwise called partnership. According to 1932 Partnership Act, the government has framed certain rules and regulations how to run the partnership business and what are the rules and regulations to be followed. All those things are given in the Act 1932, Partnership Act. 1932 Partnership Act கொண்டு வந்தாங்க, அதை வச்சுட்டு. See, even after that, the production from the industries are not up to are not satisfying the human needs and wants. So they need to increase or expand the industry. For that purpose, they need some other form of organization. And there comes to the rescue is the company form of organization. Otherwise, we call it joint stock companies. Company form of organization. What is the speciality there? What is the meaning and definition? A few persons are, it is an association of persons. It is an association of persons who join together and they start start doing a business and they will get the capital by taking small amount from hundreds of thousands of persons, and it will accumulate in the form of a capital. And that is the meaning. What is the definition? An association of persons with a common seal. If they want to continue the business, they join together, and there are a group of persons, and they will do the business, and they will run the business on behalf of all the shareholders. That is the meaning and the definition of the joint stock company or company. This is கொஞ்சம் நிறைய பேர் சேர்ந்து ஒரு பிஸ்னஸ் ஆரம்பிக்கிறதுக்காக அவங்க பணம் போட்டு செய்வாங்க. அதை பற்றி டீடைல் ஸ்டடி we are going to do now. This is the third form of organization. For this form of organization also, the government has framed rules by Company Act 1956, 1932 Partnership Act, 1956 the Company Act. Under that act, everything is told. What are the characteristics of those type of company organization? Here, it is a voluntary one. Once, if a person want to invest his money, even if it is a small amount, even it is very meager, they can join in a company as a shareholder by buying the share from the company. So, here nothing is compulsory. It is a voluntary association. That is voluntary association of members. Voluntary association of members. And there is a difference between the first three types of organization and the partners, company, joint stock company or company. What are the first three types? Just now I said, joint Hindu family business, sole trading, partnership. These are all the three business type of organization which cannot be separated from the owners. Joint Hindu family business cannot be separated from the Hindu family. Sole trading business cannot be separated from the sole trader. Partnership cannot be separated from the partners. So, the ownership and administration, the business administration are one and the same. They cannot be separated in those three. But here, it is not so. How it is run then? Suppose, if I have some amount of money with me, if I want to contribute it to a business, and what I can do, I can buy some shares. Say for example, one share 100 rupees. If I have some 10,000 rupees, I can buy some 100 shares. I can buy some 100 shares. 10,000 rupees. Each share 100, and this is 100 share. I can buy 100 shares from the company. Yes, in that case, what will happen? I will become one of the owners of the company. This is what we mean. Once a person contributes some capital into the business, then that person is called owner of the business. Even if there are 100% those who have contributed the capital, all the 100% are the owners of the business. So true. எவன் பிஸ்னஸில் காசு போடுறானோ அவன் தான் ஓனர் அந்த பிஸ்னஸுக்கு. ஓகே, குட். பட் வாட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ் once they buy the shares and they will be keeping away from the business? They nominate these people, those who are contributing the capital, are called shareholders. We will study about it separately, and the division of share capital, etc. Meaning of types of shares, we will see that later. And the persons, those who are buying the shares, are called shareholders of the company. They are not named as owners of the company, shareholders of the company. What they do, they join together and they nominate some persons who are called the directors of the company. Those directors only will run the business. So, the person contributes the capital are called shareholders, and they do not have the power or they do not have the authority to run the business, but on their behalf, a board of directors will run the business. So here, the ownership and the management are separated. Ownership and management are separated. We should bear it in mind. The first one, in the first three forms of organization, the ownership and management cannot be separated. In joint Hindu family form of business, joint Hindu family form of business, sole trading, partnership, in these three, the ownership and the business, the persons, those who are running the business or the management cannot be separated. They are one and the same. In joint Hindu family business, if you separate the Hindu family members, there is no joint Hindu family business. In sole trading, if the sole trader is separated, there is no sole trading business. In partnership, if the partners do not have any hand in the business, there is no partnership. But in the form of company, joint stock company form of organization, there the persons who buy the shares are called shareholders, and they do not have any part in running the administration, in running the business. They are only called shareholders. The administration or the management will be looked after by a group of persons who are called board of directors. This is therefore, the business is a separate legal entity. It is a separate one. It is an artificial one, separate legal entity. It is an artificial one, the business, because it is nothing can be done with the shareholders. This is second one. Usually, when there is a business, there will be some agreements and contracts. Who will put the signature in the agreement or in contract? In joint Hindu family business, the person who runs the business will put the signature. In sole trading, only one person, he will put the signature. In partnership, one of the partners or some of the partners may be authorized, they will put the signature. Whereas in this type of company form of organization, there are thousands and thousands, lakhs of members, shareholders in the company form of organization. Who will put the sign? There comes the problem. And for that purpose, what they do, they prepare a common seal. They prepare a stamp like that is called common seal. That common seal will be affixed in the place of putting the signature. கையெழுத்து போடுற இடத்துல அந்த சீலை வச்சிருவோம். And therefore it is a common seal. And another thing, what I should say, in joint Hindu family business, if something happens to the member of the joint Hindu family, there will be no question of running the business. So it will be automatically come to a close. It will collapse. In the same case in the form of sole trading also. If something happens to the sole trader, there will be no question of running the sole trading business. Now, no business will be there in the absence of a sole trader. The third case, partnership also. If the partners, they do not run, they don't want to run the business, if they are not interested, or something happens to one of the partners or some of the partners, whatever the reason it is, when there is no partner, no partnership business. Joint Hindu family and the member and the business. Sole trading and the sole trader and business. Partnership and the partner and the partnership. But here, there are thousands of shareholders in the company. If a partner wants to leave the company, yes, they can leave. They can leave by just transferring the shares to some of the persons. Some other person, they can go, and some other people will come to the place of the person who has gone out. When X leaves, Y may come and occupy the place of X. ஒரு ஷேர்ஹோல்டர் போனால் அந்த ஷேர்ஹோல்டர் அந்த ஷேரை யாருக்கு விற்கிறானோ அந்த புது ஷேர்ஹோல்டர் will come and occupy the seat. What happens there? There is a register called Register of Shareholders. And if a person wants to leave the company, what they can do? They cannot simply give the resignation letter or give the reason, stating the reason, giving a letter, and they cannot get back the amount what they have contributed into the business. அவன் வாங்கின ஷேர் காசை திருப்பி கொடுங்க கம்பெனியில் கேட்க முடியாது. சார், வாட் இட் இஸ் a big problem. If we contribute the capital, after sometimes if we don't want to continue in the company, can't we leave the company? You may ask. Yes, you may ask. But here, a shareholder who has got some number of shares cannot surrender the shares except one type of share, which we will learn it later. Cannot surrender the shares to the company and leave the company after getting the share amount. No, it is not practicable. Once you buy the shares, the share amount cannot be got back from the company. கம்பெனியிலேருந்து திரும்ப பணத்தை வாங்க முடியாது. சார், வாட் இட் இஸ்? இட் இஸ் a dangerous type of business. You may ask. Yes, for that, they have given a loop. They have given an idea of what? If anybody else is interested in buying the shares, what you can do? You can just transfer the share to the person, those who is interested in buying the shares from the company, and from that person you can get the money, not from the company. வேற யாருக்காவது இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்கிறவங்களுக்கு அந்த ஷேரை கொடுத்துட்டு நீ அந்த பணத்தை வாங்கிக்கலாம் ஒழிய கம்பெனியில் சரண்டர் பண்ணி யூ cannot get back the share money. And therefore, which is, and in that case what it is, X may go and Y may come, and because of that the functioning of the company will not be stopped. So it is a permanent one. It will be running permanently. That is called perpetual succession. There is a famous word from Lord Tennyson's Brooke poem. Lord Tennyson's Brooke poem. Men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. What does this I represent? I here is a brook. Brook in the sense what we call it in Tamil, Neerode, Arvi and Marich, Neerode. Men may come and men may go. The persons, they are born and they die. They come and go. But whatever the number of generations is, the brook will be running forever. The நீரோடைங்கிறது என்ன செய்யும்? ஓடிக்கொண்டே இருக்கும். Just for our grandfather, father and fathers, even for our son and daughter to our grandson and grandchildren. That is the meaning of it. So, for so many generations, the brook will be running forever. So, men are mortal, but the brook is immortal. அது நிரந்தரமான brook அப்படிங்கிறது. The same thing here. The shareholder, one shareholder may come and go. In the place of that shareholder, some other shareholder will come. Whatever the situation it is, the functioning of the company will be ever there, will be going on there. Therefore, it is a permanent one, which is called perpetual succession. It is an important question. What is perpetual succession? May be asked. Permanent one. தொடர்ந்து நிரந்தரமா நடந்துட்டு இருக்கும் அப்படிங்கிறது perpetual succession. Same. And we should talk about the liability. We should talk about the liability. What is liability in the business? In joint into family business, if there is any debt to the business, if there is any amount to be paid to the third party by the business, then the company or the person who is running the business is the duty to settle the amount. He has the liability to settle the amount. And the business sambandhama, if there is any loss, that should be borne by the person concerned. It is in joint into family business or in individual run business, sole trading, or some persons, more than one person, at least two, they may join together and run the business, which is otherwise called partnership. And these people, they should bear the loss of the business if there is any in the business at the end of the year. நஷ்டம் வந்ததுன்னா அதெல்லாம் யார் ஏற்றுக்கணும் அப்படின்னா the partnership partner in sole trading, the sole trader, joint into family business, that member, they should bear it. But in case of joint stock company or company, what should be the liability? What do you mean by liability? Liability in the sense, you should remember what should be the liability. Liability in the sense, the amount owed by the business to others, that is called the liability. When there is a loss in the business, who to meet? Who to meet? Who will be or who will bear the loss? That is the very big question. In that case, here the shareholders are the persons contributing the capital. If there is any loss in the business run by the company, who will bear the loss? And in that case, there are two options. One, if the entire loss is borne by the person concerned, sometimes even from their own pocket, sometimes even from the personal assets, it is called unlimited liability. But the liability, shortly we can say loan. If the loan can be settled or the liability can be settled from the business assets itself, then it is called limited liability. பிஸ்னஸ் அசட்லேருந்து கடனெல்லாம் தீர்த்துடலாம்னா அது லிமிட்டட் லைபிலிட்டி. அந்த பிஸ்னஸ் அசட்ஸ் இல்லாமல் பர்சனல் அசட்ஸையும் அது பாதிக்கும் அப்படின்னா இட் கோஸ் பியாண்ட் த லிமிட்ஸ். லிமிட்டை தாண்டி போகுது, அவனுடைய பர்சனல் அசட்டையும் சொந்த சொத்துக்களையும் பாதிக்கும் அப்படின்னா இட் கோஸ் பியாண்ட் த லிமிட். therefore it is called unlimited liability. So in case of a shareholder, what is the condition there, whether the shareholder's liability is limited or unlimited? Only the shareholder's liability is limited. It will not, the amount owed to be paid to others will not affect the shareholders. What they can do, they will pay at the maximum. They will pay at the maximum the share amount what they have not yet paid and kept as pending. Share amount இன்னும் எவ்வளவு கட்டாம வச்சிருக்காங்களோ that amount only they have to pay. They need not give any amount from their own pockets. அவருடைய சொந்த பாக்கெட்லேருந்து பணத்தை கொடுக்க வேண்டிய அவசியம் இல்லை. So the shareholders liability is very limited liability. This point, these characteristics I told you already. This characteristic I told you already. And what I said, the shares once bought cannot be given back to the company concerned. And just now I said, sir, what happened to the amount contributed to the company? Once for all, is it a one way? Can't we get it back? It is the question before you. Then you may raise the question. Sir, ஒரு தடவை ஷேர் வாங்கணும்னா திரும்ப பணம் கிடைக்காதுன்னா அது ஒன் வேயா? ஒன்ஸ் we contributed it, once we contributed, that's all. If you want to leave the company, can't we get back the shares? Yes, we cannot get back the share, and for that they have given some other provision for it. What it is, they can transfer the shares to someone else. From those persons we can get the money, not from the company. So, in the place of you, the person who have purchased the shares, who have bought the shares from you, will be there as a shareholder. Suppose X has some 10 shares. He wants to leave the company, so he may sell it to Y, the 10 shares, and X can leave the company and Y will become the new shareholder of the company. And therefore, the shares can be easily transferable. The shares can be easily transferable. These are all some 6 characteristics. We have seen so far meaning and the definition of a company and characteristics of a company. Okay. We shall see now the meaning and the types of shares. What is the meaning of a share? The capital amount. Suppose if a company requires some 10 lakhs rupees as a capital, this need not be contributed by one person. And if each share is rupees 100, then 10,000 shares, it becomes each rupees 100, each at the rate of rupees 100. So what the company will do, the company will issue these 10,000 shares, and those who are interested can buy the shares by simply paying rupees 100 for each share. Suppose if I want to buy some 10 shares 10 into 100,000 I can pay. If I want to buy some 100 shares, 100 into 100, 10,000 I should pay, I can buy. And therefore, the capital is divided into small units. Those small units are called here shares. Share na enna? ஒரு கம்பெனியில் இருக்கக்கூடிய முதலினுடைய பகுதியை சின்ன பகுதியாக பிரித்து அந்த ஒரு சின்ன பகுதிக்கும் ஸ்மால் பார்ட்டுக்கும் என்ன பேருன்னா ஷேர். That is called the meaning of share. What are the different types of shares? One is the preference share, other one is equity share or ordinary share. Equity share is otherwise called ordinary share. First, let us see what is a preference share. The preference shares is one which has the preferential right at the time of dividing the profit earned by the company, and at the time of the preferential right is given at the time of winding up of the company. எப்போ ப்ரிஃபரன்ஸ் கொடுப்பாங்க? உரிமை, முன்னுரிமை. The preferential right is given to the shareholders at the time of dividing the profit earned by the company. Number one, லாபத்தை பிரித்து கொடுக்கும் போதும். Number two, if because of some reason, if the company comes to an end, that is at the time of winding up of the company, company மூடு போது, the capital given by the shareholders should be refunded, no? தெரிஞ்சு கொடுக்கணும் இல்லையா? அப்போ in that case, this type of shareholders will be paid first. That is why it is called preference shares. So, the shareholders who has the preferential right, or the shares which has the preferential rights at the time of dividing the profit earned by the company, number one, at the time of refunding the capital, at the time of closing the business, at the time of winding up of the business, to repay the capital invested, to repay the amount invested, the preference will be given only these type of shareholders. Here, the profit given to this type of preference shareholders is fixed. Preference shareholders to this type of shareholders is fixed. 6%, 5%, even sometimes 10%. Only it is fixed. Then what about this equity share? After paying the division of profit to the preference shareholders, the profit will be given next to this preference shareholders to this one. Those type of shares are called equity shares or ordinary shares. First, preference shareholders profit divide பண்ணி கொடுத்துட்டு மீதி இருக்கக்கூடிய profit this equity shareholders will get. Here, the profit sharing is at a certain percentage, but here the percentage is not fixed. Here the percentage is not fixed. When the profit is more and more, these people will get more and more. Whereas the preference shareholders will get only a fixed percentage of profits earned by the company. இவனுக்கு வந்து ஃபிக்ஸடாக தான் கிடைக்கும், இங்கே அப்படி கிடையாது. When the profit is more and more, they will get more and more profits. And the same thing, at the time of winding up of the company also, the share amount will be paid to the preference shareholders first, then only this equity shareholders will be paid at the time of winding up of the company. Therefore, these are the two types. One is preference share, other one is equity share, are called ordinary share. And how the share capital is divided? How the share capital is divided? and this is A for authorized, I for issued, S for subscribed, and C for called up, and P for paid up, and R for reserve capital. And that is why these are the types, 6 types of capital. Number 1 is authorized capital. When a few persons join together, they want to start a business. First of all, they should decide what kind of business they are going to run, and to run the business, what should be the amount of capital required. That should be decided first. என்ன business பண்ண போறோம், அதுக்கு எவ்வளவு amount capital தேவை அப்படின்னு. That should be filled up in the form to be submitted in the register of companies, and they will authorize the capital. And the business is given, the company is given permission to run the business with that amount of capital. It is also mentioned in the memorandum of association. And the authorized capital எவ்வளவு வச்சு business பண்ண போறோம்ங்கறத and the memorandum of association, after getting permission from the company, register of companies, it should be mentioned. That is called authorized capital. Say for example, if 10,000 shares are issued by the company, 10,000 shares. Authorized capital 10,000 shares. They need not issue all the 10,000 shares. They may issue some 9,000 shares. The rest of the 1,000 shares may be retained by the incorporators or the persons, those who started the company with very much interest to run a business. So they are called incorporators of the company. And the company ஆரம்பிச்சவங்கன்னு ஒரு சிலர் இருப்பாங்கல்ல, அவங்களுக்கு தேவையானது ஒரு 1,000 shares எடுத்துக்கிட்டு மீதி the balance 9,000. I said just for an example. It is not a concrete data, fixed data. Some shares will be retained and the rest of the shares only issued to the public, and those 9,000 shares are called here issued capital. So now through prospectus the shares are issued. Now it is before the public to buy the shares or not. If the shares issued by a company or the company is a profitable one, if the share issuing company is a profitable company, it earns too much profit, then there will be definitely a competition in buying the shares of the company. If there will be definitely very big competition in buying the shares of the company. If it is an average, some people may buy, some people may not buy. So in that case, how many shares are subscribed? Some many shares are subscribed, and out of this 9,000, sometimes all the 9,000 shares will be subscribed by the public. 9,000 shares வாங்குவாங்க, 8,000 shares வாங்குவாங்க, இல்ல 7,500 shares கூட people may buy, and that is called subscribed capital. Then What do you mean by called up capital and paid up capital? See, when the shares are bought, the people are given some 4 stages. One is the application stage. Second one is the allotment stage. Third one is the call stage. Call. And this may be call 1 and call 2. Sometimes 3 calls may also be made. Okay. Suppose if I want to buy a share of value rupees 100, what I should pay for at the time of application 30, at the time of allotment 20, and at the time of first call 25, and first and second and final call 25. Like this, in 4 or 3 installments, the share money can be paid. So, what the company will do, company will call the shareholders, those who have applied for the shares. Suppose if I applied for 100 shares, how much I should pay? 100 into 30, 3,000 rupees I should pay. 30 into 100 shares, I should pay 3,000 rupees. Yes. Then the allotment will be made. Since I asked for 100 shares, if there is no competition, all the 100 shares will be allotted. Sometimes there is competition for the purchase. They may give less number of shares. Whatever the shares allotted, and for the allotment I should pay. Here I am taking all the 30 shares or 100 shares are allotted. For that, the allotment money, 20 into 100, I should pay 2,000 rupees. After the allotment of shares, they give time gap, at least a month. After a month, they will call the shareholders to pay the call money at the rate of rupees 25. They have to pay 25 rupees for each share. So 25 into 100, 2,500 he has to pay, the shareholder has to pay. That is called up capital. Then after receiving the call, the subscribers or the shareholders will try to pay. Out of this 1,000 shares, out of these 7,500 shareholders, 7,000 shareholders may pay. Some 5,500 shareholders may not pay. There are 7,500 shareholders, say, and out of which 7,000 shareholders may pay and 500 shareholders might not have paid. So those 7,000 shareholders have paid the capital now, which is called paid up capital. So authorized capital is the capital authorized by the Register of Companies and which should be mentioned in the Memorandum of Association. எவ்வளவு பணம் போட்டு பிஸ்னஸ் நடத்த போகிறோம் அப்படிங்கிறது சொல்கிறது authorized capital. Then what about issued capital? All the shares authorized or mentioned in the Memorandum of Association need not be issued to the public. பப்ளிக்கு எல்லா ஷேரையும் இஷ்யூ பண்ணணும்னு அவசியம் கிடையாது. அப்போ என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க, அதை விட கம்மியாக the less than that share authorized share it may be issued, that is called issued capital. And all the shares issued by the company need not be bought by the public, and therefore it may be less than that number of shares may be bought by the public, so it is subscribed capital. After some time, as I said here an example, the company will call the shareholders after allotment to pay the call money, and that the call money is called here called up capital. after the call is made, it is not supposed to be paid by all the shareholders. Some of the shareholders might not have paid. Say for example, out of this 7,500, 7,000 shareholders, 7,500 they have called up, but therefore 7,500. But paid up only 7,000. In that case, paid up shareholders will be 7,000 only, not 7,500. What about the reserve capital? This reserve capital is one which will be called or which will be demanded by the company at the time of winding up of the company for meeting the needs of the expenses of the company. It is at the time of winding up of the company only, not always. That is why it is called reserve capital. At the time of winding up, because at the time of winding up, the company requires some kind of finance, some kind of amount, some amount they require for the expenses to be made, and that amount is called, that capital is called reserve capital. With that, I close today. We will continue it in the next class.